the woman in black is an incredibly powerful and strong and good ghost to have at the centre of the film, and that kind of key mythology, when the woman in black is seen, a child dies, is very, very scary. So I think going on to the next film, I don't think that mythology becomes any less scary, and I think and I hope that we take the woman in black story to the next level and see how she instills terror in a whole new group of victims. They explained to me that they wanted to make it a sort of follow-on film rather than a direct continuation, and that Susan Hill had an idea to set it 40, 50 years in the future during the Second World War with an entirely different group of characters other than the woman in black, and the house, who remain consistent. But other than that, everything was new. And I thought that was a really good idea, and I really liked the idea of setting it in the Second World War, just because of the kind of the backdrop of loss, and that's sort of essentially what the essence of the woman in black is about: the fear of loss, the fear of losing a child. And I thought that kind of worked quite nicely together. I was familiar with Hammer's back catalogue of work, and I knew them as a brand. I really like horror films. I wouldn't say that I was, only interested in horror films, but certainly some of my favourite films are horror films. But I sort of think come at all films of all genres the same really, which is I like films from all genres, and what it interests me about any film of any genre, first and foremost, is the kind of the story and the characters and whether it engages me. And so that was the same approaching this. Actually, it was just it was a group of characters and a story that I found interesting, and then it also had the additional benefit of being a horror film. She was so good and so charismatic and had such depth to her performance. She is a really lovely actress, both as a person and in her ability, and she has a fragility to her which I think is really important in horror heroines, that she has the ability to kind of hold your attention, to lead you through, to be active rather than passive, but at the same time has a vulnerability to her, and I think that's a rare and wonderful quality. I met Jeremy several months before we started filming, and from the moment I met him, I knew he was the right man for the job, because he has a particular interest in war memorabilia, and particularly in pilots in the Second World War. And he was immediately able to tell me all sorts of fascinating things about pilots that he was particularly interested in, and why he was particularly interested in this role. So it was a very happy, very happy fit. Obviously, he's a fantastic actor, and was magnificent for the part, and we all were hoping he was doing it anyway, so we were so pleased when it seemed that he had that kind of prior interest. I think Helen adds a real kind of emotional strength to the film, and also makes a part that could potentially be, fairly two-dimensional. The matriarch, the headmistress character, she gives it a real kind of arc and three-dimensional quality, which is so necessary in order for it to feel real rather than just surface. One of the great things about working with Simon Oakes and with Hammer is they have a very clear idea of the type of films they want to make, and what The Woman in Black is. But once we kind of established that world, they were very generous in kind of giving me the freedom to then go away and be creative about making the film. So they have a really nice balance, I suppose, between knowing what their brand is about, but giving creatives the freedom to explore and to create. On one level, I hope that audiences just enjoy being frightened. I really enjoy being frightened. Right from those early stories around a campfire, or a sleepover or something where you tell each other ghost stories to be scared. It's sort of the same thing but maybe for me on a bit more, grown-up level. Actually, maybe not on that much more of a grown-up level. I think it's fun to be scared in the kind of the safety of a cinema, and to enjoy the bumps and the jumps and be able to know that actually you can go home at the end of it and get into bed and hopefully not be too freaked out and know that the woman in black doesn't really exist. But so on a kind of on one level, I just hope it's entertaining and scary. But on another level, I think horror films do something very interesting in the way they tap into the fears and our base fears